Picture two kindergarten classrooms. In the first classroom, there are desks lined up in rows, maybe even some tables put together so children can work cooperatively. Children may be sitting quietly, completing worksheets. There are academic centers, data trackers, computer programs. The schedule is packed, and the expectations are high. But in the second classroom, there's a loft. There's a play kitchen. There are rain boots lined up along the door. Children are tending a garden. They're building, they're creating, they're pretending, they're exploring, they're asking questions, they're even dressing up. There are books, there is laughter, and there is wonder. Now here's my question. Which classroom do you think is learning more? For many years, education has taught us that rigor and play are opposites. That if children are playing, they must not be learning. That if we want stronger academic outcomes, we need more structure, more worksheets, more direct instruction, and less play. But what if we've gotten it backwards? What if the very things that we've been removing from kindergarten are actually the things that young children need most? Welcome to the ReDream Education podcast. I'm Makenzie Oliver, microschool founder, educator, coach, and believer in the power of starting small, dreaming boldly, and rebuilding the future of education one courageous step at a time. If you're here, it's because something in your life, your classroom, your family, your child, your community, or your calling is asking for a new dream, a wiser dream, a redream. This podcast is where we challenge the old models, rethink what learning can be, and build innovative pathways for children, families, and communities. Each week, you'll gain the systems, strategies, stories, and soul work you need to design personalized learning, understand how education is changing for the better, start or scale a microschool, lead with confidence, make a change for your family, and create an education model that actually works for today's world. Because you aren't just dreaming of something different, you are building it. This is a space where we re-envision what school can be, reimagine how children learn, and rebuild the systems that were never designed to meet the needs of our future and current generation. This is a podcast to ReDream Education as we share insights, strategies, stories, and tools to teach our children better, transform learning at home, support innovative education models, and invest financially or personally in the future of students everywhere. Because you aren't just dreaming about a better education, you're part of the movement to create it. Welcome to the ReDream Education podcast. This is where the future begins. Welcome back to ReDream Education. I'm Makenzie Oliver, founder of Lighthouse Learning Microschool. And today I am excited to talk to you about something that's been weighing heavily on really all of our hearts as parents and as educators. And I must definitely begin this podcast by giving a huge shout out to Lighthouse Learning's curriculum director, Mrs. Anna Marie Old. She is our whole child learning curriculum director, and she has truly helped to take the vision of Lighthouse Learning and make it so incredibly impactful and reinvigorating. It was just this past week that Mrs. Old and I had such a great conversation. As a matter of fact, we were out at the school till 8:30 at night on a Tuesday night in June, and she was just asking such incredible questions, and it was making my brain fire off in so many different directions. My husband was there, and we were all in agreement that kindergarten needs to look different and feel different from the model that we have at our school. Which, by the way, the model that we have at our school is absolutely precious and incredible and intentional. There is a difference when a child is learning to read versus when a child has already started reading and well into the years of comprehending and vocabulary building, fluency, and all of the critical components that it takes for children to read, as well as learn and execute in math. This is a great extension to the last podcast episode I made regarding personalized learning. Personalized learning, in the last episode, I discussed what it looks like, what it feels like, how we are making a difference at Lighthouse Learning, and I'm sure many, many other micro schools all around the nation. And when I speak about kindergarten, this is personalized learning in its finest, with more than just the academic focus. I believe in the next several episodes, I'm going to dive deep into each grade level, but at Lighthouse Learning, we do have what we call a walk to learn model. And that walk to learn model is not based on students' grade level. That walk to learn model is based on students' ability. And while it is imperative that we do determine the child's age and what is developmentally appropriate for them and where they are possibly struggling on the continuum of reading and writing and math, it is very important at Lighthouse Learning that rather than having grades on classroom doors, that children are able to walk to the teacher to supply them with their reading focus that's on their level, and then walk to the teacher that is on their math focus. Why do we do that? And this is a very important component here before we really dive into kindergarten, is because you may find that in a first grade classroom, all of the students may be within the same age, but they are working at different levels. They have different abilities. They have different experiences. And it is important that we do not put all kindergarten or all first grade children in the same classroom because they're the same age and make them work on the same goals and expect that they are all on this one specific level. And so in order to really differentiate, which I spoke about in the last podcast episode, differentiation versus personalization, we want to make sure that every child has the opportunity to walk to the teacher and the classroom setting that is appropriate for their developmental progress in these core academic areas. So it may even seem that a kindergarten student appears and is performing at a second or third grade reading level. That's not surprising. I have had that experience myself as a mom with my firstborn daughter. She was in kindergarten and she was reading fluently chapter books. There were also children in her class that came from an environment previously before kindergarten and they did not know their letters and sounds. While my daughter was in that classroom, she had an amazing kindergarten teacher. And although they didn't have the cafe and they didn't have the costumes, my goodness gracious, that kindergarten teacher was absolutely set apart in her teaching and the experiences that she gave those children. Now, how did my daughter learn and thrive when she was in a kindergarten classroom reading chapter books and the other students had barely known their letters and sounds, if any? Well, at that time in public school, she was able to walk to a gifted program for about 30 minutes to 45 minutes once a week. There were also some opportunities that the teacher made sure that she had available to her, and she did enjoy learning over and over again the different letters of the alphabet. And it was also very apparent to her teacher when she pulled guided reading groups that my daughter was in a specific guided reading group that was learning different reading skills than some of the classmates that she had. I would definitely say at the school that my daughter was at, she was able to have a really eccentric experience as a kindergartner. She still got to do the Q&U wedding, and they still had so many opportunities for different thematic units and plays. But honestly, she was still learning a ton of kindergarten information that she already knew. And that is what's difficult whenever you are in a public school setting. In many private school settings or a traditional school setting, the teacher only has a small bandwidth for what she's able to really pursue with the students who are either struggling or are beyond the kindergarten level. But there's still so much wonder that happens in kindergarten. And I will say, of all of the different kindergarten classrooms I've ever witnessed as a teacher, that classroom was extremely set apart. That was a teacher who had been teaching for nearly 30 years, and she was teacher of the year. She was really skilled and crafted. But as a mom, you better believe I definitely had to make sure that I had to implement various strategies at home to keep Jalen engaged into working at a higher level and still love school. Now, for my youngest daughter, she was right on track, probably reading a little bit higher than majority of her kindergarten classmates. She had a wonderful kindergarten experience as well, but it was definitely more academic and rigor-based. No plays, none of the arts and the crafts and the thematic units. It was very academic and rigor-driven. And that is the daughter, my youngest daughter, who came from a VPK program that was all play-based. And it was so incredibly developmentally appropriate for my youngest daughter because she was not the type of student who loved school. Even though she was great at school and learning, she was not inspired. So being in a classroom that didn't have as much play and opportunities to do the dramatic, imaginative play, it was difficult for her. And that was also a kindergarten classroom that was definitely pushing iReady and computer programs. You better believe by the time my youngest daughter got home, she was absolutely craving opportunities for imaginative play. Well, my oldest daughter, whenever she got home, she was craving opportunities to just dive into chapter books for literally hours at a time. She could do that at that age. So we're looking at two different children and their learning experiences, their learning levels, their abilities, and really what their kindergarten experiences really held for them. I will say, as an educator who really cares about students and their foundational skills and making sure that we're very intentional about students reading and learning super important foundational math skills, when we started the micro school in our home, that kindergarten experience, I was able to really blend both of them. One of the very first students that we have, her mom just sent me a picture yesterday of her daughter at our house the very first day of school taking a picture, and she had her little hand over her mouth laughing so hard. It was so cute. We were able to give personalized instruction. I had my mother-in-law come and help me. She knew, we had 3 kindergartners at the time. She knew exactly what Violet needed, exactly what Austin needed, exactly what Tyson needed. And she still did all of the dramatic play and the singing and the dancing and taking them outside. And she would help give Violet specifically what she needed in math and Austin specifically what he needed. And some were mastering their addition facts. And one student was even working on his multiplication facts in kindergarten. My mother-in-law was able to really show me what personalization looked like, because from my experience as a public school teacher, I knew how to differentiate, but I didn't know how to personalize. Where when it came to science, Violet wanted to learn about animals, Austin wanted to learn about the solar system, and Tyson was extremely infatuated with magnets. And my mother-in-law took all of them on a journey, specifically in different areas of science. She taught me so much, and she was not a public school teacher. She was a homeschool mom who ran a preschool out of her home for several years. That was really my first introduction to personalized learning, was from my mother-in-law with 3 kindergartners in our living room. While I'm working with the 3rd graders, doing more direct instruction in small groups, differentiated. And I really learned by doing in collaboration with my mother-in-law. Why am I giving you this information? I'm giving you this information because personalization, differentiation, it's a journey through each of these. And then we look at kindergarten. At Lighthouse Learning, we are pulling kindergarten out of our traditional walk to learn structure and creating a true standalone kindergarten experience that feels magical, wonder-filled, nature-based, and deeply intentional. It is combining the dramatic play, the wonder, the hands-on learning, the imagination creation stations, but also allowing the students and the teacher to work through differentiation and personalization. And let me say that it is not an easy feat. Before anyone thinks that when you develop a program like this for kindergarten, that you are abandoning academics, I want to explain why I believe this may actually be one of the most academically sound decisions that we've ever made. Because the question that Mrs. Old, our curriculum director, kept coming back is, how can we make kindergarten different? They're coming straight from preschool or from home. And while, yes, they may be on varying levels, we have to still embrace and protect their childhood. She said you could put on her tombstone, defender of childhood. And that is not a joke. This question is very powerful because it immediately creates curiosity. We as a parent have an answer. We as teachers have an answer. Every school leader has an answer. And this is why I believe this deserves its own entire episode. There is a kindergarten that we remember. I only went to kindergarten half a day, and I remember having so much fun in kindergarten, learning my colors, learning my sounds. And I really can't say that that's what kindergartners necessarily are coming in struggling with, but they definitely need review of it. And they definitely need to see the connections to the colors in our fruits and our vegetables and our natural world. We also need to understand where they are differently when it comes to the experiences that all of our students have had right now in society. We have families who are raising their children all the way up to age 5, having never touched a computer or an iPad. Many families not allowing their children to watch episodes of cartoons, to have them outside in nature, to have the students building and creating. And then we have an entire population of families who believe in their children watching cartoons, even playing video games, having their own iPad. Some families even giving their children their own phones by the time that they are 5 years old. We didn't have this varying modes of parenting before we were in kindergarten. It matters that we're paying attention and blending, yet protecting so many modes of learning. Many parents, if they were to walk into a traditional school building, they're going to see desk, worksheets, testing, data walls, computer programs. And many families, especially with kindergartners, say, but my child is only 5. Parents are not looking for less learning. They're looking for developmentally appropriate learning, and these are different things. The message is not that we value play more than academics. The message is that we understand how young children learn. And that distinction is very critical because critics will immediately say kids need rigor. And I believe that our response at Lighthouse Learning is absolutely. But rigor and childhood are not mutually exclusive. The research is quite clear. Young children learn through play, exploration, movement, conversation, imagination, hands-on experiences, nature, social interaction. Children are not designed to sit for long periods of time receiving abstract instruction. They need gross motor development, fine motor development, oral language development, social play, sensory experiences. Do you know how many children have fight or flight experiences in kindergarten classrooms because they were not prepared for the traditional school setting? How many children hate learning by 5 and 6 years old who beg their parents not to drop them off at school? If you are a teacher, a homeschooling parent, or a brand new microschool founder who is trying to figure out what comes next, you need to hear this. Microschool Masterminds is the community and coaching program I wish I had when I first stepped out of the classroom and built our microschool. Yes, straight from the living room to now nearly over 100 students thriving in year 6. This is where teachers and founders finally get the roadmap, the support, and the systems to create a thriving microschool without burning out. Inside Microschool Masterminds, you will receive weekly live coaching with me and other powerful professionals who discuss strategy, solutions, and provide personal support. You also receive step-by-step modules to build your school legally, financially, and operationally. Marketing enrollment done for you with training that works even if you've never advertised before, and you can learn this on your own time through our Microschool Masterminds classroom modules. Worried about multi-age classrooms or curriculum? We've got you covered with our curriculum planning resources. You receive templates, checklists, scripts, and systems for marketing, financial systems, operations, community building, and growth. Everything is ready for you to plug in and go. Most importantly, you have access to a powerful community of other founders who understand your dreams and your fears. Whether you're starting really slow, or you're still teaching the classroom and you're dreaming of breaking free, or you're already running your microschool but feeling overwhelmed, trying to figure out also how to build a hybrid program. This is a place where you gain clarity, confidence, and of course, a plan. Because you don't have to do this alone. You deserve guidance, you deserve support, and your microschool deserves to grow with ease, not chaos. If you're ready to ReDream Education and take the next step, join us inside Microschool Masterminds, where together we are building this education system better. Head over to redreameducation.com/masterminds to learn more. Again, that's redreameducation.com/masterminds. Ironically, all of those developmental needs that I listed, these are the very things that kindergarten classrooms have reduced. I remember in one school district that I had, it was absolute mandatory that any playstations in the classroom were removed. They actually had administrators walking through the classroom, making sure that no teachers had the costumes, the kitchen sets, the play areas, the dramatic play areas. What happened to kindergarten? A generation ago, kindergarten did look different. There were dramatic play areas. There were blocks, there were dress up, there were kitchens, there were puppets, there were centers, there was outdoor exploration. And I will be honest with you, at our last location, so the first 3 years we had school at our house, and then at the last location at the church that we were at for 2 years, we had all of this available to our students. When we had to move our location so abruptly and set it up for nearly 100 students in less than a month, we had to refurbish a building that was 40 years old. We had to paint, we had to clean, we had to gut it. We were really in a survival mode. We did not have enough time, space, energy, people to help us to create the environment that we had established so hard for several years prior to that. So staying in this location, we have made it a priority. We have actually had, if you've been watching us on Facebook, I actually had a very precious friend of mine, teacher friend from public school, come in. Her job was to help set up our classrooms. Not all of them, bless her heart. But my goodness, she set up an entryway for us, our kindergarten classroom with our lofts, our first grade classroom with our lofts. She created a school library for us. She's helping to set up our middle school classroom. All of this, she really encapsulated the vision. She went to Home Depot so many times. She went to Hobby Lobby. She went to Dollar Tree. And we wanted specifically for her to design the classroom so that when our teachers come in, they know what we are looking for and expecting at Lighthouse Learning, and also our parents and our students. We don't want to wait till the beginning of August to get this set up. We want to do it right now. Something happened to our education system. Academic expectations kept moving down. What was once first grade work became kindergarten work. What was once kindergarten work became preschool work. And many schools responded by removing kitchens and pretend play and discovery centers and open-ended exploration in favor of more seat work, more testing, more academic instruction. And I'm going to tell you something that I did. I want to take you back. I was a brand new mom, okay? This is 18 years ago. My daughter Jalen was just born. Actually, she was about 2 years old, and we started the My Baby Can Read program. I know she was about 1. We started the My Baby Can Read program. We were a pilot family. The news had come out and been recording and documenting to see, does it work? They had this episode on Heartland's Best News called Does It Work Wednesday? And they had my daughter as someone to see, since I'm a teacher. I don't know how I got chosen for this. If I implement this program with Jalen, will she learn how to read? I kid you not. She learned how to read, okay? She's less than 2 years old, learning how to read. It was documented on the news that it works. My Baby Can Read worked with Jalen. Don't even ask me if I did that with Jolie, because she's like, give me these cards. I'm going to throw them across the room. And I was so in that moment thinking, oh my gosh, Jalen is going to love learning. And even at 2 years old, that little girl, 1 year old, at her first birthday, we did a little quiz. How long can Jalen sit and listen to me read stories to her? And it was an hour. At 1 year old, she was able to sit and read for an hour. Then I was talking to my kindergarten teacher, my kindergarten colleague, and I was talking so much about how I wanted Jalen to have an amazing academic experience when she grows up, whenever she turns 5, and I want her to make sure that she's challenged and that, all of these expectations for her academic career. And this kindergarten teacher said, I just want my kids to be happy. And it convicted me in my spirit. I was so looking towards making sure that she was challenged and she was on the right academic level. And I was almost missing the joys of making sure she was in a place that could really make her happy, regardless of how much we wanted to push her or support her. And that conversation, Jalen's maybe 2 years old, this teacher, kindergarten teacher, made me realize we have to make sure that our kids are happy before we ever expect them to learn. Not that I didn't want Jalen to be happy, but I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, and that too. Yes, I want that too. But she was saying at the core, they need to be loving learning before they can actually learn. And so that conversation 16 years ago helped to really make sure that as a parent and as a teacher that we are instilling not only the academic instruction that is appropriate for students, but also the levels and experiences of happiness. When we raise intention, when we raise achievement, yes, it's good, but there is an unintended consequence that occurs. We start asking children to behave more like students and less like children. I believe that parents are looking for a bridge, especially microschooling families. Many families are coming from home, preschool, Montessori, nature schools. The transition into formal schooling can feel abrupt, and parents wonder, will my child still love learning? Will they be known? Will they be pressured? Will they be compared? But when they see rain boots and they see gardens and they see lofts and they see play kitchens and they see dramatic play and they see nature experiences, they aren't seeing toys, they are seeing permission for childhood. Children instinctively learn through play. The kitchen isn't a kitchen. It's literacy, it's oral language, it's problem solving, it's collaboration, it's executive functioning, it's math. And I will tell you that my oldest daughter, she was so academic driven. She did not embrace all of what I'm describing in this, but my youngest daughter, she did. She came from a VPK program that allowed this, where my oldest daughter was in a VPK academic-driven program. And you know who still talks and plays? My youngest daughter. My oldest daughter struggled more with that creative play. And I'm looking back into my own experience as well. When I was a child, I had dramatic play. Many of you guys may know this story that I played school all the way up until I was in high school. And My youngest daughter, Jolie, she's not that intense, but she definitely has more of that as well. And it could just be our personalities, right? It could. There's a lot of factors here. But I do believe if I would have made sure that Jalen had those specific experiences, I believe I would have seen a different child when it came to feeling free enough to play and to really enjoy learning rather than to be so academically focused. When you see the kitchen set, when you see a garden, it's not a garden. It's science, it's observation, it's responsibility, it's measurement, it's vocabulary. The costume center isn't dress up. It's storytelling, it's creativity, it's social development, it's communication. Adults see toys, educators see learning. And I believe this is where Lighthouse Learning stands apart. We're not choosing between academics and play. We are refusing to accept that choice. We can have both. We can have explicit phonics instruction. We can have University of Florida Literacy Initiative. We can have small groups. We can have high quality math instruction, and we can have play and wonder and nature and exploration and joy. This is important, and this is where teachers need permission. And as a teacher, my experience was always 3rd grade and 5th grade. Get those students reading, make sure they pass that test, make sure they're ready for middle school. And when I had the experience of teaching younger students, my perception of learning completely changed. And I believe that's where I really wanted to give the dream a chance of starting the micro school, because I wanted to give my children an experience that for several years they didn't get to have. That was even probably unbeknownst to me because of my experience in public education. And not only did I want to give my own children this, even Jolie, whenever we started the micro school, she was in 3rd grade, we got a kitchen set and all the 3rd graders were playing in the kitchen set and on our back porch. And even my daughter, she was in 7th grade, Jalen at that time, she even started playing in the kitchen set, serving up food for the younger students. It was a little bit harder for her. It's just a little bit harder for her to get into that creative free play, but she did it. And that is the experience that I'd wanted so much when we were at our home and having these kindergartners and these 3rd graders and this even a couple 7th graders, having them all come together as a community and socialize and play and let them all take different little leadership roles. The 7th graders, it only lasted for a couple of days, but hey, nonetheless, the 3rd graders, they played this way for months. And of course, the kindergartners, this went on all the way up for a few years. Listen, some schools have become all rigor and other schools have become all freedom. And we want to build something in the middle. The reason why we have extracted our kindergarten walk to learn model, it's actually very strategic. Kindergarten is a unique developmental year. They're still learning how school works, how friendships work, how routines work, how independence work. Belonging matters, community matters, security matters. And a standalone kindergarten does create identity and safety and consistency, but it still allows flexibility. If we have students that are reading at a much higher level, we're going to partner with the families to ask them, do you want them to walk to another teacher for reading? Do you want them to walk to another teacher for math? But we're going to partner with the families to see how they want us to execute this. And we're also going to equip our kindergarten teacher to make sure that when we have those students who are reading above, and who may struggle to know, a couple of students may struggle to know their letters and their sounds, equipping that teacher to be able to not only give the experience of dramatic play, but also give differentiated and personalized learning to the students who need it and deserve it, which is all of them. But that takes really training and equipping the teacher. We want students to remain in this magical kindergarten experience, but they can walk to the higher level reading groups when appropriate. We honor both developmental readiness and academic readiness, and that's personalized learning. Child is not something to rush through. Play is not the opposite of learning. Play is one of the most primary ways that children do learn. And I want to challenge microschool leaders with this question. If you could design kindergarten from scratch, knowing exactly what we know about child development, would you create what currently exists in most schools? Most would say no. So why are we recreating systems that many families are actively leaving? Microschools have an opportunity to build something different. And like me, maybe you need permission. Like me, maybe you need someone else to come in and tell you, we need to take a stand. We're not putting computers in that classroom, because we are very conditioned to do things a certain way. And so I challenge you to really take hold of this episode, to learn from my own experiences, to learn from the people who've been pouring into me. This is not less rigorous. This is more developmentally aligned. It's more human. It's more joyful. It's more connected. At Lighthouse Learning, we're not trying to bring back kindergarten because we're nostalgic. We're trying to bring back kindergarten because children still need the same things that we've always needed. They need wonder. They need movement. They need imagination. They need nature. They need relationships. And they also deserve excellent instruction. The future of education isn't choosing between play and academics. It's understanding that for young children, the very best learning happens when these two things work together. And that's the hill that I stand on. Not anti-academics, not anti-rigor. Pro-childhood, pro-development, pro-excellent instruction. That's the message that parents are desperately seeking right now. It is time to ReDream Education and to actually take that next step. Join us in Microschool Masterminds every single week for live group coaching, self-paced modules, and of course, a powerful community. Head on over to redreameducation.com/masterminds and join us in our free Facebook group at ReDream Education Microschool Community. To learn more, that's redreameducation.com/masterminds.